everyone, I'm here with a little bit of an update video about what's been going on and where I've been the past month, because if you've been following me here for a while, then you know I usually tend to post videos, once or twice a week, but have not been posting in the last month or so. If you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook or any of those other type of social media platforms, then you know that I had, a pretty sad and, tragic event this past month. One of my brothers sadly passed away at the beginning of June. I am one of six children, and I'm number two. And the brother that passed away recently was number four in the six of us. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it because I know some people are curious, but I'm not going to go into super big detail or anything because that's not important, but I did think that this is an important subject to touch on because I know I'm not the only person who is affected by this. Like, the more I talk about it, the more it becomes clear that this is, unfortunately a common issue. So, as I said, I am number two out of six children, and in 2009, one of my other brothers passed away. So that would be number three. He was just shy of a year younger than me, and he passed away very suddenly in 2009. He had a seizure in the night, and it was very sudden. That was my brother, one of my brothers. And then this past month, number four passed away, and this was not completely unexpected, but it was still a shock when it happened. So my brother died of alcoholism. He died of an addiction, and I know that unfortunately this is all too common. It is something that is hard to come to terms with, because when my other younger brother died, because it was, a medical thing that happened, just very suddenly, it was shocking and tragic, but you could say, well, I could say to myself, maybe his time was done. There was nothing anybody could do about it. It just happened. But with when somebody dies of an addiction, it's very hard to make sense or meaning out of that. At least that's what I find. And it definitely leaves a hole when anybody passes away. And I can't talk about what it's like to have an addiction because I don't suffer from that. Like, I never had an addiction. I don't know what, I can't come at it from that perspective, but I can come at it from the perspective of what it's like to have a loved one who has an addiction, and how that is something that, tears lives apart. And it was not the outcome that any of us, of course, had hoped for. I'm going to try to remain calm in this video. I find I have times where I can remain calm about it and other times where I can't. So that's why I'm trying to make this now while I feel fairly calm. Because I think, like I said, it's an important subject. So, as with anyone with an addiction, they hide it, right? So we don't really know when this started. We don't really know how long this had been going on. It was only when he could not hide it anymore that it became very apparent that this is what's happening. And I know that family, friends, we all struggle to figure out, like, where did this happen? What happened here? And try to piece things together, but nobody really knows what exactly happened. We don't really know why. We don't know. We just know a few years ago it became very apparent that he was struggling with this and he couldn't hide it anymore. And everyone encouraged him to get help. Everyone from his workplace to his friends and obviously family, and encouraged him to get help and offered him all sorts of opportunities to get that help. But as those who've dealt with addictions or loved ones with addictions know, that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And, we offered help and everything. And, sometimes it was taken for a little while, but then it would be abandoned. Sometimes it wasn't taken at all. And so everyone tried to do everything they could. And If you know someone with an addiction, you also know too that you have to set boundaries, because if you don't, um, they will it's like they're possessed by the addiction, and it just, it changes who they are, changes their behavior. It makes them do things that they wouldn't normally do, and you have to be able to take care of and protect yourself. And so I had to set some boundaries with him, that were very painful. Like I had to, kind of cut him off after a while, because the behavior, was extremely erratic and, upsetting. And, especially when you have a family, you have to protect them. And I wasn't the only person that had to do these kind of things. And I know if you have someone in your life that has an addiction, you probably have had to do these kind of things too. Again, I'm not going to go into giant details, but it just got to the point where, I had to set some pretty clear boundaries, and that was very upsetting. He went from having like, a really great job, and, partner and kids and all this stuff, to losing everything slowly with this addiction, from his job to, his partner to his family, friends. Like it all just sort of slowly disappeared, because of addiction. And it was extremely painful to watch this, because you feel like you are watching a slow motion train wreck that you can do nothing about. And, it's been a long, painful kind of process, and, it did not end in the way that, like I said, any of us wanted it to. Um, my my brother was found on June 7th, and thankfully, he had a friend who, called for a wellness check, who was extremely worried about him, who had tried to get him to go to the hospital. Did get him to go to the hospital. He refused treatment and left, and it was, went home. And at that point, the friend, and we found out all this like well after the fact. And so the friend tried calling him. He wasn't answering. They went to his apartment, locked on the door. There was no response. So they thankfully called for the wellness check, and that's when the police found him. So really upsetting. And it's not something. It's something I don't wish anyone to go through. It's just really traumatic, and, I miss the person that my brother was before all of this. When I would see him, when he was, you know, drinking heavily and stuff, it was like some other person. It was like someone I didn't know at all. And so for me, I'm gonna try not to cry. I just miss the person that he was, and I try to remember the person that he was before all of this, and that's what I try to focus on. And I've been reading some stuff about, how when someone dies of an addiction, kind of what their loved ones go through. And a lot of it is like that hindsight of like guessing, like, well, did it start here? Did it go there? Like, was there something I didn't notice? All these questions, or should I have said something different? Maybe I could have said something that would have magically changed things, or maybe I should have done this. And I think that's normal when anyone dies, but especially so when somebody dies of something like addiction or suicide, or something that, has that kind of like, I don't know what word to use for it, but you feel like this could have been prevented. And it's hard, because at the end of the day, you can't control what anyone does, right? And especially not when somebody has an addiction. You have no control over what they do, or the choices that they make. And, it's hard to accept that sometimes. The other thing too is there's also anger, right? Because it's like, this didn't have to happen. Why, I feel terrible for all of the people affected by this. And, I'm trying to keep things like non-specific, just because of people's privacy, and I don't want to, I want to speak at this from my perspective and not from anyone else's, but it's a big loss, and there's people that are, really affected by this, and it's going to affect them for the rest of their lives, and it just makes you feel really angry about it. And it stole the person that I knew. It stole the brother that I knew that was he was really creative. He was a much better guitar player than I am. I'm not like a naturally talented musician. I love music, but I have to work at it to play it. And he could just pick it up and listen to a song and just play it. Like, just, one of those people that has that natural talent, right? He was really great with computers. He could, figure out all sorts of programs. When he was a kid, he would like go into computer games and like rewrite the code to like make it do other things. And he just was like this really smart, creative, funny person. I went a couple times to England with him, and so I'm really glad I did that because I have really good memories about that. We played in a band together for a while, so I have all these like really good memories. And it's hard to reconcile those with the person that he became, because the addiction changed him. And I think anyone who's known someone with an addiction knows that feeling, right? Um, and so it just feels very strange. In some ways, I feel like I lost him a long time ago, but now I feel like I've lost the hope that he'll return, because I always just hoped he would come back, and that's not going to happen now. Um, I think it's important to know that if you are dealing with someone who in your life who has an addiction, that you have to take care of yourself. You can't change them. They have to want to change. They have to be the one to want to make the change. And for some people, that means a crisis has to happen in their lives. And I always hoped that something would happen that would kind of like shake him awake or shake him out of this. But nothing did. And that's the really difficult thing, is you have to accept that there may be nothing that shakes them out of it, but that it has to come from them. It won't, like I said, everybody tried to help him, and it didn't work. Like, you all can offer help, you can offer support, but you also have to set your boundaries about what is acceptable behavior and what isn't, because addicts will create chaos, because the addiction gets them to do all sorts of things they wouldn't otherwise do. And you're going to have to set boundaries and protect yourself. And, especially if you have kids or people that you have to protect as well, right? So I think that's the first piece of advice, is you have to take care of yourself, and you can't control what they do or don't do. And that is very hard to accept, but it is something that you have to keep in mind. Self-care as well, like, taking care of yourself. And that's a big part of taking care of yourself, is those boundaries. I think it's also important to know that it's not your fault. I think that I had somebody come up to me that was a friend of his who was very worried, and they were extremely upset and thought that they could have done more, and they did everything they could. So I think that's important as well. Because again, you can't make someone get better or make someone want to get better, I think, especially. Um, it's just, it is what it is. And, some people will hide, like, I'm not going to use euphemisms. Um, some people will hide when their loved one dies of an addiction, and I'm not going to. I never hid before, with people that knew me, that that's what was going on with my brother. When they would say, why haven't I seen him? Or, what's going on with him? I would just tell them, well, unfortunately my brother is, alcoholic, and he's struggling with addiction right now. So, it's not something that I'm going to sugarcoat or like try to pretend something that, he died of some other way, because he did. He died. drank himself to death, basically. Um, it's terrible. It's really, really terrible. I Yeah, it's hard to know what to say, and people have come up to me and said, "I'm so sorry, I don't know what to say to you," and I totally get it. Like, I don't know what to say. It's okay. Like, I try to tell people it's okay. You don't know what to say. I don't know what to say either, and thank you. Like, just the fact that people care is huge, and I want to thank all the people who did leave kind comments and who just, said that they were thinking about me and stuff and that they were sorry for my loss, or whatever. I really appreciate that. Like, it's just that you care. You don't have to say something profound or magical, because there is nothing profound to say about it. Like, it is what it is. Um, it is like watching a slow suicide, and it is terrible. Like, it is. And if you're watching this and you're someone who is struggling with an addiction, and again, I never had to deal with it myself, but I do encourage you to please get help, because you're worth being here. Um, and there's people that love you and care about you, and they want you back. They want the person they knew back. They want that person back, and that person is still in there. So if you're alive, it is not too late. If you're alive, you can still turn the ship around, and I sincerely hope for that for you, because everybody deserves, to have a good life and to have a life free of that. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about what happened, and just let you know, like, that's why I've kind of been gone. And I may talk, more about this stuff later. And thank you for listening. And you know, I just I don't even know what to say anymore about all this. Like, it's terrible. And it's been a sad month, and I feel sad, but I'm also trying to still do things that are fun in my life. Because, like, someone said to me, like, you could still go celebrate things in life, and that doesn't negate the sadness you feel. Um, so I'm still trying to, like, go and do things when I feel like it, and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. And if you're somebody who's grieving someone, you're not alone, right? Like, there's it. I think we all, at some point in our lives, we lose people that we love, and it's hard. But I think it was Queen Elizabeth that said that grief is the price that we pay for love. And I try to be thankful that I did have him in my life, and be thankful for the person that he was before this took him away. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I want to thank everyone for, being patient. I want to thank everyone for their kind words. Please take care of yourselves. Like I said, if you do have an addiction, please reach out and get help. You are worth it. And if you are someone who is dealing with a loved one with an addiction, please set boundaries. You have to take care of yourself. Don't enable. It's really hard. I know. I so know. But it's what you need to do, because you can't make someone want to get better. You can only take care of yourself. Um, and that's, I guess, all I have to say about that. Thank you again for all of your love and kindness. And you know what? I'm going to try to be back to making videos maybe about once a week. We're going to see how this goes. I'm not going to be like pushing myself to get back out there, kind of thing. But I'm going to just take it at a pace that I feel good about, and that, I feel good about putting out there. But I don't want to, like, I don't know, stop my life. I still have to do the things I love, and this is one of the things I love to do. And this is a really wonderful community, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So I want to send you so much love right now. Again, as always, I'm going to end with peace and with love, lots of love, and rock and roll.